What would you do if your parents demanded you give up your dreams to fund someone else's? This is the story of how my family tried to take my college fund to pay for my sister's wedding, and how I fought back. I always knew my family played favorites, but nothing prepared me for this. Growing up, my older sister Emily was the golden child. She was charismatic, ambitious, and always seemed to get what she wanted. Meanwhile, I was the quieter, studious one, often overlooked in the shadow of her accomplishments. When Emily announced her engagement, it was like the entire world revolved around her once again. Our parents were over the moon, already dreaming of a lavish wedding that would be the talk of the town. I remember sitting at the dinner table, nodding along as Mom and Dad discussed floral arrangements and banquet halls, feeling like a ghost in my own home. I didn't mind. Emily's spotlight was nothing new. Then one evening, everything changed. Mom called me into the living room, her voice unusually serious. She sat on the couch, clutching her teacup tightly, while Dad paced the floor. "We need your help," Mom began, her tone almost pleading. For a brief moment, I thought she wanted me to do something simple, like help with decorations or run errands. Instead, her next words shattered me. "We're going to use your college fund to pay for Emily's wedding." She said it so casually, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I froze, my heart pounding. My college fund? The one I had been counting on for years? The fund that represented everything I had worked so hard for? I looked at her in disbelief, waiting for her to laugh and say it was a joke. But her face was serious, almost expectant, like she genuinely believed I would agree without hesitation. Dad chimed in, his tone stern. "It's for the family, and you'll still have time to save up again. Emily needs this." Their words hung in the air, heavy with expectation. In that moment, I felt the weight of years of being the less important child come crashing down. When I refused, it was like setting off a bomb in the middle of the living room. Dad's voice grew louder, echoing through the house as he accused me of being ungrateful and selfish. "We've sacrificed so much for you," he shouted, his face red with anger. "The least you can do is support your sister." Mom, always the more emotional one, started sobbing uncontrollably, clutching a tissue as if her life depended on it. "How could you do this to us?" "To Emily," she wailed, tears streaming down her face. I felt trapped, cornered, as if the walls of the house were closing in on me. Emily sat quietly at first, her eyes darting between us. But when the pressure mounted, she finally spoke up, her tone sharp. "It's not like you're going to college tomorrow," she said, brushing off my protests. "You have time to save up again. This wedding is happening now, and it's important to the whole family." Her words stung, each syllable a reminder that my dreams were being dismissed as trivial. I tried to keep my composure, explaining how long I'd been planning for college and how every dollar in that fund represented my future. "I've worked so hard for this," I said, my voice shaking. "It's not fair to ask me to give it all up." But my words fell on deaf ears. Mom and Dad launched into a tirade about family values, loyalty, and how I should be proud to make such a sacrifice. "Family comes first," Dad said firmly, as if it were the final word. I started to feel the weight of guilt they were piling onto me. They brought up every little thing they had ever done for me. Meals cooked, rides given, sacrifices made, painting a picture where I was the villain for daring to say no. But deep down I knew this wasn't about family. It was about control. They expected me to roll over, just as I always had, and let them dictate my future for the sake of their golden child. The final blow came when Emily's fiancé, Mark, entered the fray. He wasn't even part of the family yet, but he had no problem chiming in. "This wedding isn't just for Emily," he said, trying to sound reasonable. "It's a celebration for everyone. You're young, you'll bounce back from this. His words, though calm, felt like daggers. Who was he to tell me what I could and couldn't recover from? In that moment, I realized I was alone. No one was on my side, and the fight wasn't just about money anymore, it was about standing up for myself. I squared my shoulders and took a deep breath. "No," I said firmly, meeting their stunned gazes. "I won't give up my future for this." I thought I had drawn a firm line in the sand. Saying no to my parents felt like reclaiming a small piece of myself, a defiant spark that had long been buried under years of quiet compliance. But that spark was about to face an inferno. A week later, I came home from school to find my parents and Emily huddled together in the kitchen, their voices hushed but unmistakably tense. They fell silent the moment I walked in, exchanging glances like kids caught with their hands in the cookie jar. Suspicion bubbled inside me, but I decided to let it go, until I overheard Mom on the phone later that night. "Don't worry, sweetie," she cooed. "We'll make her see reason. This wedding will be everything you deserve." Her words clanged in my ears like an alarm. I rushed to check my bank account, my heart pounding with dread. And there it was, a cold, unforgiving truth staring back at me. Half my college fund was gone, withdrawn without my consent. When I stormed into the living room, my parents didn't even flinch. They acted like it was their right, their duty even. "We're your parents," Dad said with a dismissive wave. "You wouldn't be where you are without us. This money belongs to the family, but it's my future." I screamed, tears streaming down my face. Mom stood up, her face a mask of hurt. "How can you be so selfish?" she asked, her voice trembling. "This is for Emily, for the family. Don't you care about us?" Emily, seated on the couch with a martini glass in hand, likely another wedding planning session, avoided my eyes. But when she finally spoke, her words cut deeper than any knife. "I thought you'd be happy to help me," she said softly, her tone laced with disappointment. "We're sisters. Isn't that what family is supposed to do?" That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about my parents. It wasn't just about money. It was about control, about the deep, unspoken hierarchy in our family, where Emily always came first. And then came the twist I never saw coming. When I threatened to go to the bank and report the unauthorized withdrawal, Dad smirked. "We already spoke to the bank," he said coolly. "We're listed on the account. It's perfectly legal." I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. My own parents had planned this down to the last detail, cutting me out of my own future without a shred of remorse. That night, as I sat alone in my room, I realized I had no choice but to fight for what was mine. This wasn't just about standing up to my parents anymore. It was about proving to myself that I deserved a chance at the future I had dreamed of, no matter how many battles I had to face. The betrayal felt like a knife to the heart, but I wasn't ready to give up without a fight. I spent the night pacing my room, replaying every argument, every plea, and every accusation in my mind. My parents had stolen from me, not just money, but my dreams, my independence, and my trust. The next morning, I woke up with a plan. First, I called the bank to confirm what I already feared. My parents had withdrawn the money legally since they were co-signers on the account. It felt like another slap in the face, another reminder of how deeply they controlled my life. But instead of wallowing in despair, I decided to take action. I sought advice from a trusted teacher at school, someone who had always encouraged me to dream big. She referred me to a local legal aid organization that helped young adults in situations like mine. It was there that I learned about options I never even knew existed. With their help, I filed a motion to freeze the remaining funds until I turned 18, effectively stopping any further withdrawals. When I broke the news to my parents, their reaction was explosive. Dad's face turned a shade of red I'd never seen before, and Mom's tears flowed freely. "You're tearing this family apart," Dad roared, slamming his fist on the dining table. "How could you do this to us?" To Emily, who had been sitting silently through most of the drama, finally spoke up. "Maybe this has gone too far," she said, her voice uncharacteristically quiet. All eyes turned to her, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes. "I didn't ask for this," she continued, her voice trembling. "I thought it was just a small loan, not her entire future." Her words sent shockwaves through the room. Mom and Dad looked at her, stunned. "But this is your wedding," Mom cried. "How can you side with her now?" "I'm not siding with anyone," Emily replied, her tone firmer now. I don't want to ruin her life for one day of mine." For a brief moment I felt a glimmer of hope, like maybe, just maybe, things could be repaired. But Dad wasn't ready to back down. "This isn't just about a wedding," he snapped. "It's about loyalty, about family." "No," I said, my voice cutting through the chaos. "It's about control. You've made it clear my future doesn't matter to you, but it matters to me. And I'm done letting you dictate my life." The fallout was swift and brutal. My parents accused me of being heartless, selfish, and ungrateful. They said I was no longer welcome in the house unless I apologized and unfroze the funds. It hurt more than I thought it would, but I stood my ground. The final twist came a few weeks later when I received an email from Emily. She apologized for her part in the mess and confessed that she'd been too afraid to stand up to Mom and Dad. She offered to downsize the wedding and even pay back part of the money they had taken. While her gesture didn't undo the damage, it showed me that maybe she wasn't entirely the villain I had painted her to be. I used what was left of my college fund to enroll in school and moved out shortly after turning 18. My relationship with my parents remained strained, but I've found peace in building a life on my own terms. Standing up to them wasn't just about saving my college fund. It was about saving myself. What would you do in my shoes? Would you fight for your dreams or give in to keep the peace? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell for more jaw-dropping stories like this one.